So as always, I'm not screwing around here. I know a ton of YouTube channels love to say they have all these hidden gems and then they go on to suggest stuff like Hades or Elden Ring. But I have stuff here in this video that is genuinely underrated in a literal sense. All these games have less than 500 reviews on Steam, because once there's more than that, that's when it becomes pretty likely that you've probably heard of it already and it's a pretty big indie hit. Also, all of these have 85% or higher review ratings on Steam. I know a lot also have a lot higher than that, but keep in mind these are pretty well regarded by the people that have played them. I've got a good mix of genres and types of games here, so if you see something that you're not interested in, stick around because maybe the next one will hit for you. Either way, I'm not going to waste any more time and let's just get right into the first one.
The plague came quickly. The rot and fear bloomed.
Harvest Hunt is this super interesting first-person horror game with this really awesome look to it stylistically. It has this cornfield Halloween vibe to it that's super evocative of like European folk horror. In this game, you're tasked with surviving against this entity that is hunting you, while you are also in turn hunting it, and that's a really fun dynamic, but it's honestly not too unique. The real unique feature here is its deck building element to it. The game is modified with these like random pulls of cards that can like give you new items or abilities to gain the upper hand on this ambiguous threat. So check that one out if you're looking for something that's basically the indie horror staples that we're all familiar with, but with some really unique twists to it and a really great look. Then we have Tagline, which is an arena shooter meets parkour speedrun game. It has this awesome Jet Set Radio vibe and even has this graffiti-focused mechanic where you suck the color out of graffiti to get different weapons to blast away your enemies in a stylish way. But also, you'll be speedrunning through these levels like a maniac trying to get really fast times with them. I'm going to get to a few other speedrun games later in this video, but yeah, if you're into stuff like Neon White or even Stop Dead, which was in my last video I did, make sure you check this one out. It's a Wrap is a dream 2D platformer for video editors. You use a video editing suite to sync up objects, hazards, and props to make it so you can navigate through levels in a 2D platformer. It has a bunch of levels themed around different movie genres, so if you're a big movie fan like me, there's a lot here to love. If you're at all familiar with video editing, this is just a fun thing to see a timeline used in this way. Paradise Marsh is one of the coziest cozy games you can think of. The game just focuses on you exploring these really gorgeous environments and like catching little critters, and it's one of the most relaxing nature-inspired sort of games you can find. There are mysterious clues and artifacts you can find around the environment that allow you to imagine a deeper scenario going on here, and some introspection from the creator of the game. But this one is just a super awesome game if you're looking for just a cozy chill out kind of game. Duel on Board is a super simple 1v1 local multiplayer game, and that is kind of all you want in a local multiplayer game. You want it to be as simple as possible so you can get new people into it as fast as possible, and that's what Duel on Board really nails. The primary conceit of the game is just you're two pirates who are dueling over beer. You're just one-on-one trying to take out the opponent in the most simple way possible. But there's shields, there's guns, there's swords, there's all the stuff you'd expect from like a pirate battle, but there's also a ton of stage hazards and different modes that really can mix things up. So if you're looking for just like a simple sit down, have some fun with some friends kind of game, Duel on Board is a solid, cheap choice. Next up is Girl Genius Adventures in Castle Herodyne. This one's based on a comic and webcomic of the same name, and this one was kickstarted and developed by the Teslagrad developers. I'm a pretty big fan of their games, so this one is a really neat take on the PS2 GameCube era action-adventure titles. Think somewhere between like Maximo and Wind Waker. I'd say a little bit closer to Maximo quality-wise here, comparing it to Wind Waker might be a little bit hyperbolic, but either way, this really is successful at throwing back to that era, and it has the melee combat you might expect, but you also are building all of these gadgets and stuff to aid you on your journey. I'd say look into this one if you don't mind a little bit of the jank that was present back during that era, and it's just nice to see it more modernized in its kind of just like a coming home kind of game if you grew up with this stuff. Airhead is a Metroidvania with a main mechanic built around a detachable head. If you're a big Metroidvania fan, that might sound familiar because it's kind of similar to Headlander, which was from Double Fine, which is an awesome Metroidvania, which I also recommend. But Airhead takes it into a much simpler, more direct approach. During your journey through the game, you're going to be gaining all these new abilities that allow you to do weird, unique things with the head, like a dash or even inflating the head as the titular Airhead. This is just another overlooked Metroidvania, and I'm a huge fan of the genre, so check that one out if you are looking for another nice Metroidvania with a pretty clean, flat presentation.
There was a deranged king who imprisoned the Grim Reaper, Kharon, in the depths of a crypt in an effort to elude death. And he remained there, waiting in the dark, until today.
Kharons Crypt is going for the Game Boy Color look in a way that most other games don't. It's a dungeon crawler in the style of a Zelda game, so I guess it's most similar to like the Oracle games on the Game Boy Color from Capcom, the Zelda Capcom games. It's kind of weird that they made them, but and anyway, in this one you play as the Spectre of Death, and you possess enemies to gain abilities to do different things around the world. It's a mechanic that I really like to see in games. For some reason, I really like the ability to Geist style take over different enemies, but it's cool to see here in a game that's like an old school Zelda game. There's all the Zelda style puzzles and bosses you'd expect, so check this one out if you're looking for possibly another throwback title to something that you played during your childhood. Escape from Mystwood Mansion is just a really awesome and super polished, well put together escape room game. This game finds the perfect balance between easy puzzles and difficult puzzles. Sure, there's going to be moments when you're scratching your head, but you're not going to be stuck and getting frustrated. It pulls off the game design challenge that Portal really nailed, which was make your player feel like they're smart. And that's one of the greatest things a puzzle game like this can make you feel. It's one of those single player games that's actually really fun to play with a group. So if you have like a group of friends over and just want to hang out and work as a hive mind, this is a really great game for that.
Round one, go!
The Amazing Crackpots Club is an early access game, but don't let that fool you. There's a lot here already, and I'm excited for when it's completely finished. But check this one out if you're into Lethal League, Pong, and Smash. It's pretty much all of those mixed together. The main focus of the game is you bashing back and forth these like flying balls and objects and orbs and smashing them into the other side of the screen, which is where the opponent's life vial is. And if you smash it enough, then they die and lose. This game works really well as like a 1v1 game, but there's also 2v2 if you want to play with more than just two people. There's a bunch of different characters that have different abilities and move sets, so if you really want to like main one of the characters and learn their abilities really well like you might in Smash, this game has that ability to it. Also, there's a single player mode to this one that really calls back to the Subspace Emissary from Smash Bros. Brawl. I think this is a really cool game that needs to be on a lot more people's radar. Hell of an Office is a 3D first-person platform game. I really like these kind of games, Neon White, Seum, but these games are super fun, and I really like to just get into the grind of just running these levels over and over again and trying to just get your best time. This one is a lot like Seum because it has this comedic hell-like setting to it, but since it also has this like office theming to it, you use a stapler to pretty much enable rocket jumps to get through the levels fast. But I really think you should check this one out, especially if you love stuff like I do, like Neon White and Seum. Then we have Tower, which is spelled Twwwr, just, so you don't mess up in searching here. But it's a really neat, short, top-down dual-stick shooter that just has a really great vibe to it. It has this oddly detailed pixel art world as you shoot your way up this tower. If you're a fan of stuff like Gungeon or Isaac, but you don't necessarily want another roguelike, check out Tower. It's not going to take you too long to get through. It's just a pretty fun, light game. The Heilwald Loophole is a lo-fi horror indie game, but this one has a really neat twist to it because there's no real traditional game over situations in this one, but it's all explained away with the plot. And it's a really oddly interesting story that's being told here about this really gross hospital that uses this loophole. I'll just say that. Check that one out there. It's really underrated for some reason. Sunshine Heavy Industries does some of my favorite type of game design, and that is give the player a ton of different tools and options and allow them to figure out solutions that aren't necessarily intended. In this game, you're going to be designing and managing these spaceships to solve all of these different puzzles with your own creative solutions. On top of the actual mechanics of the game, you're going to be meeting all of these really charming different alien creatures, and I think this is just a game that is just sadly overlooked, and I think that more games need to be like this. More games just need to give you the tools to accomplish your simple goals. I really love that sort of design. PegIdle is something. As I'm sure you can basically tell, this is pretty much a PegIdle game. You're going to be gaining currency as you clear boards, and you're going to be upgrading the balls that you're going to be dropping into the boards, and inevitably you're going to be getting all of these auto drop balls that just drop without you choosing, so you technically don't even really need to play the game to play the game. So either make sure you check out PegIdle or don't, depending on if you want a new thing to be addicted to. Leap Year is like a sort of clumsy little platformer that has tons of secrets, and if you're a big fan of Animal Well, this is one to definitely look into. It's a short and sweet game where your little character can't fall more than one block height without falling on his face and dying. There's a ton of weird mechanics and secrets and knowledge that you have to discover by intuiting it in unique ways. If you've played Animal Well, it's sort of like that. I don't know, I really love this one, so that one is an easy recommendation. Twwwr Killers is an homage to the old Love the Lick games, like Moon Remix RPG. On a pulled out level, this game has a really awesome, weird sensibility to it. But the moment-to-moment gameplay of this is going around and talking and doing interesting things for these interesting NPCs in this world. You have this energy meter that means you can only accomplish so many things during a day. But yeah, if you're looking for another comedic RPG kind of game, check out Twwwr Killers. If you're like me, there's something so satisfying about a one-shot, one-kill kind of attack. Sort of like Towerfall. It just an incredibly satisfying feeling. And Angry Arrows is a top-down game with that being the central mechanic. Primarily, the game is about rescuing hostages in these kind of big, wide-open environments where you can approach from many different angles and dodge rolling your way through and taking out enemies in a really fun way. You can also tackle these challenges in co-op, so it's like you're a little squad going in to make a rescue. It's just a really fun thing to do. Also, there's PvP with a ton of different modes, so I bet you can imagine how fun this game can be. It's, sort of like Towerfall in that way. This is a really simple game, but as I said before, simple can often be better for a game like this. Aura of Worlds is like Spelunky, Noita, Terraria kind of vibes. I guess it's not really Terraria because there's no like base building survival, but this game is a systems-based environmental interaction sort of game. It's a roguelike, just like Spelunky or Noita, but you're going to be using systems to interact with this world and using them to gain the advantage and make it so you can make it through the game. You'll be doing stuff like knocking rocks off roofs to kill and smash enemies, and blowing open paths so you can proceed through something that was previously blocked. There's tons of different characters with a bunch of different abilities. It's one of these games where they just give you a ton of tools and you have to figure your way through. So check that one out if you're looking for another Spelunky kind of game. The Tartarus Key is a game that I mentioned in my games to play if you like Resident Evil video, and this is not quite survival horror because there's not really combat in it. It's pretty much just all of the puzzly stuff ripped out of an old style Resident Evil game. It still has this horror vibe to it, but it's not gonna jump out and scare you. The main conceit here is that you have to escape this mansion, and to do so you have to solve these puzzles and interact with these characters that are in the similar situation as you. It's sort of like a Saw situation where people are put into these traps and you have to solve these puzzles to get out of the situation. It's not that original in that sense, but if you're like me and prefer the logistical problem solving in a Resident Evil game over the combat aspect of it, make sure you check out the Tartarus Key. Micro Mages is a actual NES homebrew game, and it just happens to be released here on Steam. Like, you could download this game, run it in an NES emulator, or put it on like a flash cart and actually run it on a real NES. And you can do that because the NES ROM is included with the Steam version here, so that's pretty cool. But regardless, the game itself is a scrolling platformer game where you play as these really small mages, and I just really love how small the characters are here. It's a really smart choice, and there's something that gives this game so much character because of that choice. You can play this game with up to 4 different players. This is just a really simple, straightforward NES style game, but I like a good wall jump. I like the way this game looks. There's no major complexity here, but Micro Mages, this is a pretty cool game. Check this one out if it sparks some sort of interest in you. Here we have another hell-based speedrun game. Apparently, speedrun games and hell go together like peanut butter and jelly. But Kick Bastards is a parkour kick-centric one. This is sorta Mirror's Edge-like, mixed with Dark Messiah's Kick. This one did launch in a sorta rough state, but they've been working on this game a lot and tuning it. They even put out a 2.0 version that added some cool like Spider-Man style swinging into it. So check out Kick Bastards if you're looking for some awesome feeling kicks. Splodey is pretty much a sprite-based take on Splosion Man, if you remember that from the Xbox Live Arcade days. You're going to be tossing these explosive potions around to destroy blocks and propelling yourself through the air, because in this game you don't have an actual jump. You're just going to have to be using the collateral damage to launch yourself through the levels. This is another level-based speedrun game. I don't know what it is about me. The last video I had a ton of frogs in it. This one, I guess, speedrun games is on my mind. It's unintentional, but I guess, sure. If you're looking for a not first-person speedrun game, check out Splodey.
Junkyard in the middle of nowhere.
You can't hide much longer.
I tried walking further down the road for help, but I got all turned around and ended up back here.
Ad Infernum is a indie take on a first-person survival horror game, a lot like Resident Evil 7 or 8, and I just think that there's something comforting about the fact that such small teams can have the tools to make something with such big aspirations. It definitely has some rough edges and jank to it, but I can look past that stuff easily. There's the first-person combat and the puzzle solving that you'd want from a game like this. So as long as you're like me and can, sympathize and understand why a game like this might not be the most polished thing in the world, make sure you check out Ad Infernum. Alright, and then for the last game in the video, it's another Spelunky-like game, but this one has some of the most amazing sprite art and animation that I have seen in a while, and that is Spirit's Abyss. It has this darker, edgy, gothy feel to it than something like Spelunky or even Noida, but it still delivers everything you'd want from a game like this. So if you're looking for another game like this, and or Worlds didn't work out for you, check out Spirit's Abyss. Alright, and those were some really awesome underrated games on Steam. I hope you check out these games, wishlist them if you're not going to buy them outright. It helps out the developers if you wishlist games. Support these developers if any of these caught your eye. Also, I want to give a huge thanks to the people that checked out the video that preceded this one. It did a lot better than I was expecting, and I'm super grateful for everyone that found this channel and even shared it around. If you like this video, share this one around as well. It's super meaningful that I'm getting a lot of great feedback on these videos. I'm going to be doing one more of these videos that's pretty much just like this one coming up next, which will be my next video I put out. But then after that, I'm going to probably try to do something a little bit different and then maybe come back to this. I really would like to mix up the format a bit. I don't want to just be stuck with doing the one exact same thing for every video, because I know that can get tiring for a viewer and it can get, burnout, exhaustion for a creator like me. Hopefully you are enjoying these videos. I'm going to be making this into more of a series than just one-off videos. But yeah, check out what I've made before. I'm sure you'd like those videos if you like this one, and do all the YouTubey stuff, subscribe, like the video. It really does help a lot. And thank you for watching. 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 Thanks for watching.